All right, let's talk about something that can give even the most seasoned tech person a little bit of anxiety, the cloud bill. We're going to break down Azure costs and give you a solid game plan to get control so you can stop worrying and start strategizing. Let's dive in. You know the feeling, right? You're busy building awesome stuff in the cloud. Everything's going great. And then that tiny voice in the back of your head whispers, how much is this all costing? That fear of getting a massive, unexpected bill is totally real. But it doesn't have to be. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll get into the right mindset for cloud costs. Then, we'll look at how you can plan your spending before you even start. We'll cover the smart ways to actually buy Azure services, how to keep your costs in check once you're up and running, and finally, we'll talk about the guarantees you get for your money. Okay, first things first. Managing costs in the cloud isn't just about using the right tools. It's about a complete shift in how you think about spending money on tech. We're moving away from the old model of buying big, expensive hardware up front. And this really is the core of it. On-premises is what we call capital expenditure, or CapEx. Think of it like buying a house. You have a huge, one-time upfront cost. The cloud, on the other hand, is operational expenditure, or OpEx. This is much more like renting. You pay as you go and only for what you're actually using. Getting this difference is absolutely key to everything that follows. So, if the costs are ongoing and based on usage, how on earth do you prevent them from spiraling out of control? Well, you plan. And luckily, Azure gives you some really powerful tools to figure out your costs before you spend a single dime. And these are the two big ones you need to know about. The TCO, or Total Cost of Ownership calculator, is for the big picture. It helps you answer questions like, what would we save if we moved our whole data center to Azure? It even helps you think about things you might forget, like power and staffing costs. Then, for your actual projects, you've got the pricing calculator. This thing is awesome. You can basically build your entire solution virtually. A couple of VMs here, a database there, and it'll spit out a really detailed estimate of what your monthly bill will look like. Okay, so you've used the calculators, you have a budget in mind. Now, how do you actually buy this stuff? And believe me, this isn't just a simple checkout process. It's a strategic decision that can save you a lot of money. You've really got three main paths. For big companies, there's the Enterprise Agreement, or EA. That's where you commit to a certain amount of spending over multiple years to get the best discounts. Then you've got Web Direct, which is the standard pay-as-you-go model you get by just signing up online. And finally, there are cloud solution providers, or CSPs. These are Microsoft partners who bundle Azure with their own services and support, which is a great route if you want a more hands-on, managed approach. Now we get to the fun part. The real-time, active management of your costs once your applications are live. Honestly, this is where you can make the biggest, most immediate impact on your monthly bill. So what actually makes that bill go up and down? Well, it boils down to three main things. First, the resource type and its performance tier. It's obvious. A super powerful, high-end virtual machine is going to cost more than a basic one. Second is location. Some Azure regions are just more expensive to operate in than others. And third, and this is the one that catches everybody, network traffic, specifically data going out of Azure. You should burn this into your brain. This is a fundamental rule of cloud computing. Ingress, which is data coming into Azure, is free. Egress, data going out of Azure, costs you money. This can add up shockingly fast if you're not careful. So designing your apps to minimize that outbound traffic is a huge cost-saving strategy. Okay, let's talk about some serious savings. If you have workloads that are predictable, a server that's going to be on 24/7 for the next few years, then Azure Reservations are going to be your absolute best friend. You're basically telling Microsoft, hey, I'm committing to using this for 1 or 3 years, and in return, they give you a huge discount. And when I say huge, I mean it. We're talking up to 72% off the regular pay-as-you-go price. For those stable, always-on workloads, this is probably the single biggest and easiest way to slash your Azure bill. It just makes so much sense. But what about workloads that aren't predictable, or that can be stopped and started? For those, you have spot pricing. This is amazing. You get to use Azure's spare compute power for a fraction of the cost. So what's the catch? Well, it's a big one. If a full-price customer needs that capacity, Azure can take it back from you with only 30 seconds notice. So let's be super clear here. You would never, ever run your main production website on a spot VM. But for things that can handle being interrupted, like massive batch processing jobs or your dev and test environments, it's an absolutely incredible way to save a ton of money. And the list goes on. If you already own Windows Server or SQL Server licenses, the Azure Hybrid benefit lets you use them in the cloud, which saves a bundle. You also get Azure Advisor, which is like a free consultant that scans your environment and gives you personalized tips to cut costs. And of course, there's Azure Cost Management, which is your command center for setting budgets, getting alerts, and seeing exactly where your money is going. All right, let's switch gears a little. We've talked a lot about what you pay. Now let's talk about what you get. When you run a service on Azure, what kind of guarantee do you have that it's actually going to be, up and running? And the answer to that is the Service Level Agreement, or SLA. And this is really important. An SLA isn't just a friendly promise. It is a formal, financially backed contract. If a service doesn't meet its promised uptime, Microsoft has to give you a credit on your bill. They have skin in the game. But what do these numbers really mean? An SLA of 99.9%, what we call 3 nines, sounds pretty much perfect, right? But when you do the math, that actually allows for up to 43.8 minutes of potential downtime in any given month. For a critical application, that might be way too much. Understanding this translation from percentage to actual time is so important. And it gets trickier because your application is never just one service. It's a bunch of services working together. And your overall availability is only as strong as your weakest link. You actually have to multiply the individual SLAs together. So as you can see here, your composite SLA is always going to be lower than any single one of its parts. So how do you fight that? How do you increase your SLA? With smart architecture. A classic example is using availability zones. This just means you deploy your virtual machines across multiple, physically separate buildings within an Azure region. That way, if one building has a problem, your app keeps running in the other. Just by doing that, you can boost a VM's SLA from 3 nines to 4 nines, which is a massive leap in reliability. Finally, you have to know where a service is in its life cycle. New stuff starts in private preview, which is invite only. Then it goes to public preview where anyone can try it. But here's the key. Services in preview have no SLA. They are not for production. Once a service hits general availability, or GA, it's ready for prime time. It's fully supported, it has an SLA, and Microsoft promises to give you at least a year's notice before they ever retire it. And that brings us to our final question. After all this, is your cloud spend just an unpredictable expense you have to deal with? Or is it a strategic investment? By using the right planning tools, the smart saving strategies, and understanding the guarantees you're getting, you can completely change your perspective. Your Azure bill stops being this scary thing, and it becomes what it should be, a deliberate, powerful investment in your future.